Tonight, you'll discover centuries-old stories used by monks to quiet restless minds and soothe anxious hearts. No effort needed, no focus required. Just listen and let go, even if your thoughts race, even if nothing else has worked. As the Zen masters say, you only lose what you cling to. So tonight, we begin to let go and simply release. And in the next few hours, you might just find the peace that was always within you. Now, close your eyes and simply listen. Welcome to Zen Buddhism healing, quiet space, a soft sanctuary for your mind and heart. The day is done. Its noise, its weight, can all be set down now. Here, in this still moment, there is nothing left to fix. No goals, no pressure, no destination. Just breathe, just rest, make yourself comfortable. Let your body grow heavy, supported, safe. Let your jaw unclench, let your shoulders soften, and let your breath gently return to its natural rhythm. If any thoughts arise, let them float by, like clouds passing in a wide, open sky. What you're about to hear are not ordinary bedtime stories. They are gentle parables passed down through centuries. Each one a quiet key unlocking something tender within you. A truth, a release, a remembering. You don't need to hold on to every word. Let them wash over you like warm rain on still water. The stories will do what they need to. You just rest. Now, let us begin. Imagine, picture yourself walking along a winding stone path. The air is cool, and smells of damp earth and pine needles. On either side of you, ancient lanterns cast a soft, golden glow, illuminating the moss that clings to the stones. You are approaching a simple wooden temple, nestled high on a mountainside. A gentle mist hangs in the air, softening the edges of the world. The only sound is the distant, rhythmic chime of a wind bell. This is a place of profound stillness. Here, we will explore the wisdom of an open mind, a mind ready to receive. There was once a great scholar, a man renowned throughout the land for his vast knowledge. He had read every scroll, studied every philosophy, and debated every great thinker of his time. He was, by all accounts, a vessel overflowing with information. One day, he heard of a wise old Zen master who lived in a secluded temple high in the mountains. The scholar, believing he knew all there was to know, decided to visit this master, not to learn, but to challenge him and display his own intellectual prowess. After a long journey, the scholar arrived at the temple and was greeted by the master, a humble man with kind eyes and a serene smile. They sat down for tea. The scholar immediately began to speak, his words pouring out in a torrent. He spoke of complex philosophies, of intricate doctrines, of all the things he had learned. He filled the small tea room with his theories and opinions, barely pausing to take a breath. The Zen master listened patiently, his gaze calm and unwavering. As the scholar talked, the master began to pour tea into the scholar's cup. He poured, and he continued to pour. The tea filled the cup, rose to the brim, and then began to overflow, spilling across the saucer and onto the wooden table. The scholar, startled, finally stopped talking. "Stop, what are you doing?" he exclaimed. "The cup is already full. It cannot hold any more." The master stopped pouring, looked at the scholar, and smiled gently. "Like this cup," he said softly, "you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" The scholar was stunned into silence. In that moment, surrounded by the scent of spilled tea and the profound quiet of the mountain, he understood. He had come with a mind so full there was no room for anything new. He had come to speak, not to listen. To receive wisdom, he first had to make space for it. An empty cup makes the sweetest tea. The master taught that true learning begins not with accumulation, but with release. He would often say, "A mind full of old leaves has no room for the spring blossoms." The parable of the empty cup is a timeless reminder of this truth. The scholar represents our own minds, so often cluttered with preconceived notions, past experiences, and the certainty that we already know. We hold tightly to our beliefs, our identities, and our stories about how the world works. This fullness prevents us from seeing things as they are. It closes us off to new perspectives, to deeper understanding, and to the simple, profound wisdom that is always available to us. To truly learn, to truly grow, we must cultivate what is known as beginner's mind. A beginner's mind is open, eager, and free from the arrogance of knowledge. It is a mind that is empty and therefore ready for anything. As you lie here, resting in the quiet, consider your own cup. What are you holding onto so tightly? What beliefs, opinions, or past hurts are filling your mind, leaving no room for peace to enter? Can you feel the weight of all that you think you know? Perhaps you are certain about what you can or cannot do. Perhaps you are holding a fixed story about yourself or about someone else. What might happen if, just for tonight, you were to gently set those certainties aside? Imagine your mind as that teacup. Can you, just for this moment, allow its contents to pour out? Not with force, but with gentle acceptance. Simply creating space. You do not need to find new answers right now. The only task is to make room. Take a moment now and notice if anything inside you is already beginning to soften. As you breathe, imagine each exhale is a gentle emptying of that cup. With every breath out, you release a thought. You release a worry. You release the need to be right, the need to know. The day is over. Your mind has worked hard enough. Now it is time for it to be empty. It is time for it to be still. Allow the gentle silence of an empty mind to be your cradle tonight. Rest in that open space. Drift in that peaceful emptiness. There is nothing to hold onto now except the gentle rhythm of your own breath, guiding you deeper and deeper into peaceful sleep. Our journey continues. We leave the high mountain temple and find ourselves walking beside a slow-moving river. The sun is setting, painting the sky in soft hues of lavender and rose. The water murmurs over smooth, gray stones, a constant, soothing sound. Tall reeds sway gently in the evening breeze, their whispers joining the river's song. The air is warm and carries the sweet scent of river blossoms. We are in a place of flow, a place of movement. Here we will learn the wisdom of letting go of the burdens we carry in our minds. Two Zen monks, one old and one young, were on a long pilgrimage. Their journey took them along muddy roads, through dense forests, and across wide plains. For many days, they walked in mindful silence. One afternoon, they came to a place where a river had flooded, turning the road into a wide, muddy torrent. On the riverbank stood a young woman in a beautiful silk kimono. She was clearly distressed as she needed to cross, but did not want to ruin her fine clothes in the muddy water. She looked helplessly at the two monks. Without a word, the older monk walked over to her, bent down, and lifted her onto his back. He carried her carefully across the rushing water and set her down gently on the other side. She bowed deeply in gratitude, and the two monks continued on their journey. Hours passed. The sun began to dip below the horizon. The younger monk, who had been silent all this time, was growing increasingly agitated. His brow was furrowed, and his steps were heavy. Finally, he could contain himself no longer. He turned to the older monk and burst out, "Master, how could you do that? We are monks. We have taken vows not to touch a woman, not to get so close. It is against our rules. How could you break your vows like that?" The older monk looked at his young companion with a calm, gentle expression. He smiled and said softly, "I set that woman down by the river hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" Attachment to the thought is the real entanglement. The master taught, the past is a ghost, the future a dream. All we ever have is now. This story beautifully illustrates the difference between a physical act and a mental burden. The older monk performed an act of simple, selfless compassion. He saw someone in need and helped them. Once the act was complete, it was finished for him. He was fully present in the next moment and the one after that. He did not carry the memory as a problem. The younger monk, however, did not touch the woman physically, but he carried her in his mind for hours. He clung to the event, replaying it, judging it, and building a heavy story of resentment and confusion around it. His mind was trapped in the past, unable to be present on the journey. He was carrying a burden that was entirely of his own making. This is what so many of us do. As you settle deeper into stillness, reflect for a moment on the burdens you are carrying tonight. What, woman by the river, are you still holding onto in your mind? Is it an argument from this morning? A mistake you made last week? An unkind word someone said to you years ago? Think of an event from your day or your week that is still troubling you. Can you feel its weight in your mind? You may have left the situation physically, but like the young monk, you are still carrying it with you long after it is over. You are allowing it to steal the peace of this present moment. What would it feel like to set it down, right here, right now, on the bank of this imaginary river? Can you acknowledge that the event is over? It exists now only as a thought, and you have the power to let that thought go. Imagine that heavy thought, that mental burden, as a stone in your hand. Feel its weight. Now, as you lie by this peaceful, flowing river, open your hand. Let go. Hear the gentle splash as the stone drops into the water and is washed away by the current. It is gone. Are free of it. With each breath you take, feel yourself becoming lighter. The current of your breath is washing away any lingering troubles. You are no longer carrying the past. You are here now, in this safe and peaceful place. Allow the gentle sound of the river to become the sound of your own deep, restful peace. Drift on that current, down, down, into a profoundly deep and untroubled sleep. The river path dissolves into a wide, open valley. The moon is full and high in the sky, bathing the landscape in a soft, silvery light. You can see the gentle contours of the rolling hills and the dark, sleeping shapes of farmhouses dotted across the land. The air is still and cool, filled with the scent of freshly cut hay and night-blooming jasmine. The only sound is the gentle chirping of crickets, a lullaby for the sleeping earth. This is a place of acceptance, a place of quiet observation. Here, we will explore the wisdom of non-judgment. In a small, remote village, there lived an old farmer. He was poor but content. He had a son, and he had one horse, which was his most prized possession. One day, his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, all the villagers came to console him. "Oh, what terrible luck," they said, shaking their heads. "Your only horse is gone. This is a disaster." The old farmer simply replied, "Maybe." A few weeks later, the horse returned, and it was not alone. It brought with it a herd of 12 wild horses. The villagers were amazed and rushed to the farmer's house to celebrate. "What incredible luck," they exclaimed. "Now you are a rich man. This is a blessing." The old farmer, looking at the new horses in his corral, just shrugged and said, "Maybe." The next week, the farmer's son was trying to tame one of the wild horses when he was thrown off and broke his leg. The villagers came once again, their faces full of pity. "Oh, what awful luck," they cried. "Your son, your only helper, is injured. This is a curse." The old farmer listened to their laments and calmly replied, "Maybe." A month later, the emperor's army came marching through the village. They were conscripting every able-bodied young man for a war that was being fought in a distant land. The villagers wept as their sons were taken away. But when the soldiers came to the old farmer's house, they saw his son with his broken leg and passed him by. The villagers, seeing this, came to the farmer in awe. "You were right all along," they said. "Your son being injured, it was the greatest luck of all." The old farmer, watching the army disappear over the horizon, simply smiled and said, "Maybe the master taught that we suffer not because of the events in our lives, but because of our judgment of them. We are quick to label things as good or bad, a blessing or a curse." The story of the farmer reveals the folly of this habit. Life is an intricate web of causes and effects, and what seems like a misfortune today may be the seed of a great fortune tomorrow. And what appears to be good luck can lead to unforeseen challenges. The farmer's wisdom lies in his radical acceptance. His response, maybe, is not one of indifference, but of profound understanding. He knows that he cannot see the whole picture from his limited vantage point. He refrains from judging the moment and instead allows life to unfold as it will. He lives in a state of equanimity, finding peace not by controlling events, but by releasing his need to label them. As you rest here, bathed in the soft moonlight, think about an event in your life that you have labeled as bad, a setback, a failure, a loss. Feel the story you have told yourself about this event. Notice the finality in your judgment, the certainty that it was a purely negative thing. Now, can you gently hold that event in your mind and whisper to yourself, maybe? Can you entertain the possibility that you do not see the whole picture yet? That within that perceived failure, there might be a hidden lesson, a new direction, a seed of future strength. You don't have to believe it, just allow the possibility. Consider something you have labeled as good, a success, a lucky break. Can you also hold that and say, maybe this is not to diminish your joy, but to release your attachment to it, to understand that all things are impermanent, and peace comes from not clinging to either fortune or misfortune. The truth is, we do not know what is truly good or bad. We only know this moment. And in this moment, you are safe. You are at peace. Release the need to judge your day, your week, your life. Let go of the labels. Allow everything to be as it is. Like the wise old farmer, find your rest in the quiet space of maybe. In this space, there is no anxiety, no regret. There is only a deep and trusting calm. Allow this feeling of calm acceptance to wash over you, soothing every muscle, quieting every thought. drift into sleep on a gentle wave of maybe, trusting that all is unfolding exactly as it should. We now find ourselves in the heart of a vast and ancient library. The air is thick with the scent of old paper, sandalwood, and beeswax. Moonlight streams through a high, circular window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the silent air. Towering shelves filled with countless scrolls and books rise into the shadows, holding the accumulated knowledge of generations. It is a place of deep thought, a place of questions. But tonight, we will seek a wisdom that lies beyond words, beyond logic. There was a young, brilliant monk named Yoshi who came to a famous monastery to seek enlightenment. The abbot of this monastery was a renowned master, known for his challenging and unconventional teaching methods. Yoshi was eager to prove his intelligence and his deep understanding of the scriptures. During his first interview with the master, Yoshi spoke eloquently about the nature of reality, quoting ancient texts and weaving complex philosophical arguments. The master listened patiently. When Yoshi had finished, the master said simply, "You have shown me the sound of 2 hands clapping. Now, show me the sound of 1 hand clapping." Yoshi was taken aback. The sound of 1 hand, he thought about it logically. 1 hand cannot clap. The question was a paradox, a riddle. He returned to his quarters and began to contemplate. He thought of the wind rustling through the pines. He thought of the drip of water in a silent cave. He thought of the cry of a lone owl. For a week, he meditated on the problem. Each day, he would return to the master with a new answer. "Master," he would say, "I have it. The sound of 1 hand is the sound of the wind." The master would simply shake his head. The next day, Yoshi would offer another answer, and another, each one more poetic and clever than the last. But the master rejected them all without explanation. Weeks turned into months. Yoshi grew desperate. He read every scroll in the monastery's great library, seeking an intellectual answer to the riddle. He grew thin and weary. All his knowledge, all his cleverness was useless. He had exhausted his intellect. One evening, sitting in silent meditation, no longer trying to solve the problem, his mind became completely still. The frantic search for an answer ceased, and in that profound silence, in that emptiness of thought, he understood. The next day, he went to the master. He walked in, bowed, and simply sat in silence. He offered no words, no clever sounds, no poetic descriptions. He just sat, his mind empty and serene. The master looked at him, and a wide, knowing smile spread across his face. He nodded. Yoshi had finally heard the sound of 1 hand. The master taught, "The finger pointing at the moon is not the moon, the famous Zen koan. What is the sound of one hand clapping is not a riddle to be solved with logic. It is a tool designed to break the intellectual mind, to show the seeker that some truths cannot be grasped through thought or language. They must be experienced directly. The sound of two hands clapping represents the world of duality, the world we live in. Cause and effect, subject and object, sound and silence, you and me. It is the world of concepts and ideas. The sound of one hand points to the reality that underlies this duality. It points to the non-dual, the absolute, the source from which everything arises. It is the sound of silence itself, the sound of being. Yoshi's mistake was trying to find an answer in the world of duality to a question that pointed beyond it. He only succeeded when he stopped thinking and started being. As you lie here, notice the constant chatter of your own mind. It is always thinking, analyzing, solving, and labeling. This is the sound of two hands clapping. It is a useful tool, but it is not the totality of who you are. Can you, for a moment, stop trying to figure everything out? Your sleep, your health, your future. Your mind may be trying to solve these things right now. What if the answer is not in more thinking, but in less? Let go of the search. Imagine all your thoughts are like Yoshi's clever answers, presented to a silent, smiling master within you. Acknowledge them, and then let them go. The real peace you are seeking is not another thought, another solution. It is the silence that is left when the thinking stops. Tonight, your goal is not to find the answer. It is to become the silence. Listen not to the sounds around you, but to the deep quiet from which they emerge. This is the sound of one hand. It is the sound of your own peaceful presence. It has been here all along, beneath the noise of your thoughts. Breathe into that silence. Melt into that stillness. You don't need to solve anything tonight. You only need to rest. Allow the profound, silent peace of the one hand to be your final destination. Drift into that perfect, thoughtless calm and find the deepest sleep you have known. Our journey now takes us to a quiet, secluded garden behind an old monastery. The sun has long set, and a blanket of brilliant stars covers the sky. The air is cool and fragrant, with the scent of night-blooming cereus and damp stone. A small, clear pond reflects the starlight perfectly, like a sheet of dark glass. In the center of the garden is a large, smooth, gray rock, worn by centuries of wind and rain. It is a place of stillness, of substance, and of weight. Here, we will contemplate the nature of the burdens we choose to carry. A wise Zen master was walking with a group of his young students through a forest. They were practicing walking meditation, paying attention to each step, each breath. The master was silent for a long time, allowing the students to immerse themselves in the experience. After a while, he stopped and pointed to a large rock lying by the side of the path. "Is that rock heavy?" he asked. The students, eager to answer, all chimed in at once. "Yes, master, it is very heavy," one said. "It must weigh a great deal," said another. They began to debate just how heavy it might be. The master listened with a small smile. Then he said, "Its weight is not the most important question. The real question is, for how long do you carry it?" He then bent down and with some effort picked up a much smaller stone about the size of an apple. He held it out for the students to see. "How heavy is this stone?" he asked. "Not very heavy at all, master," a young monk replied. "You are right," the master said. "If I hold it for a minute, it is no trouble. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will begin to ache. If I hold it for an entire day, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed. The weight of the stone itself does not change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes." He looked into the eyes of each student. "Your worries, your anger, your regrets, they are like this stone. If you think about them for a little while, it is nothing. If you dwell on them, they will begin to hurt. If you carry them with you all day, every day, you will become paralyzed by them, incapable of doing anything else." He then opened his hand and let the stone drop to the ground. "The important thing," he said, "is to remember to put the stone down." The master taught the art of living is not in avoiding problems, but in knowing when to put down the stones. This parable offers a simple but profound metaphor for how we handle our mental and emotional burdens. We often believe that our suffering comes from the problems themselves, the difficult situation at work, the argument with a loved one, the fear about the future. But the Master shows us that the suffering comes not from the existence of the stone, but from the act of holding it. It is our rumination, our incessant dwelling on the problem, that makes it heavy. The problem itself might be small, but by carrying it in our minds constantly, we magnify its weight until it becomes unbearable. Solution, then, is not necessarily to solve the problem immediately, but to consciously choose to put it down, especially when it is time to rest. As you lie here in your bed, ready for sleep, take a moment to notice what stones you are holding. Is there a worry you have been carrying all day? A regret from the past? A fear for tomorrow? Can you feel its weight in your mind, in your body? Perhaps your shoulders are tense, or your jaw is clenched. That is the feeling of holding the stone. Acknowledge its presence. You don't need to fight it. Simply notice that you are the one holding it. The weight of the stone has not changed, but you have been carrying it for a long time. Now, imagine yourself opening your hand. Visualize the stone of your worry tumbling from your grasp. Hear it land softly on the ground beside you. It is no longer your burden to carry, at least not for tonight. You can, if you must, pick it up again in the morning. But for now, for this sacred time of rest, you are letting it go. Feel the lightness in your arm, in your mind, now that the stone is gone. Feel the relief. This is the peace that is always available to you when you choose to put down your burdens. Allow this feeling of lightness to spread throughout your entire body. Your shoulders can relax. Your jaw can soften. Your mind can be still. There are no stones to carry here. There is only the soft bed beneath you and the quiet air around you. Breathe in this lightness. Exhale any remaining tension. You are unburdened. You are free. And in this freedom, you can drift peacefully, weightlessly, into a deep and restorative sleep. We find ourselves in the quiet workshop of an old potter. The room is filled with the earthy smell of wet clay. Rows of finished pots, vases, and bowls line the wooden shelves. The moonlight from a large window illuminates the potter's wheel in the center of the room, and a fine layer of clay dust covers everything, shimmering in the pale light. It is a place of creation, a place where humble earth is transformed. Here we will discover the hidden beauty of our own imperfections. In a small village, there was an old woman who fetched water from a stream every day for her household. She used 2 large clay pots, each hung on either end of a long pole that she carried across her shoulders. One of the pots was perfect in every way. The other pot, however, had a small crack in it. Every day, as the woman walked the long path from the stream to her home, the cracked pot would leak, and by the time she arrived, it was only half full. The perfect pot, of course, always delivered a full measure of water. For 2 years, this went on daily. The perfect pot was very proud of its accomplishments, flawless and efficient. But the poor cracked pot was ashamed of its own imperfection. It felt miserable that it could only do half of what it was made for, after 2 years of what it perceived as a bitter failure. The cracked pot spoke to the old woman one day by the stream. "I am so ashamed of myself," it said. "Because of this crack in my side, I leak water all the way back to your house. You do all this work, and you only get half the reward because of my flaw." The old woman smiled kindly. "Did you notice," she said gently, "that there are flowers growing on your side of the path, but not on the other pot's side?" The pot looked, and it was true. On its side of the well-worn path, a beautiful line of wildflowers bloomed in vibrant color. "That is because I have always known about your flaw," the woman continued. "So I planted flower seeds on your side of the path. Every day as we walk back, you have been watering them. Because of you, I have these beautiful flowers to decorate my table. Without you being exactly the way you are, there would be no this beauty to grace my home." The master taught the cracks are where the light gets in. We live in a world that often worships perfection. We strive to be flawless, to hide our weaknesses, to present an image of unblemished strength and capability. This parable gently turns that idea on its head. It teaches us that our so-called flaws, our imperfections, and our vulnerabilities are not things to be ashamed of. They are often the very source of our unique beauty, our compassion, and our ability to connect with the world in a meaningful way. The cracked pot believed its purpose was only to hold water perfectly. It judged itself against an ideal. But the wise old woman saw a different, more beautiful purpose. She worked with the flaw, not against it, and used it to create something wonderful. In the same way, our struggles, our scars, and our broken places can become the fertile ground for kindness, wisdom, and unexpected beauty to grow in our lives. As you lie here, resting peacefully, bring to mind something about yourself that you consider a flaw, a perceived weakness, a past mistake, a part of your personality or body that you wish were different. We all have these things. We all carry a sense of being a cracked pot. Feel the familiar shame or frustration that comes with this thought. Notice the story you tell yourself about this imperfection, how it holds you back or makes you less than. Now, can you try to see it through the eyes of the wise old woman? Can you wonder, just for a moment, what flowers might be growing on your side of the path because of this crack? Has this perceived flaw made you more compassionate, more resilient, more creative, more humble? Has it connected you to others who share a similar struggle? What unexpected beauty has it watered in the garden of your life? Tonight, give yourself permission to be imperfect. Release the exhausting struggle for flawlessness. You are not broken. You are beautifully human. Your cracks are part of your story, part of your strength. Imagine those cracks not as weaknesses, but as channels for light and water, nurturing a unique beauty in the world that only you can bring. Embrace the wholeness of who you are, cracks and all. Allow a gentle self-acceptance to be the soft blanket that covers you tonight. There is nothing to fix, nothing to hide. You are enough exactly as you are. And in that peaceful knowing, you can let go and drift into a deep, accepting, and profoundly restful sleep. We find ourselves now standing at the edge of a dense bamboo forest. The moon is high, and its light filters down through the tall green stalks, creating a shifting pattern of light and shadow on the forest floor. A gentle wind moves through the grove, and the bamboo stalks sway and rustle, creating a sound like a soft, rhythmic whisper. It is a living sound, a sound of movement and resilience. The air smells clean, green, and earthy. This is a place of flexibility, a place of yielding strength. Here, we will learn the wisdom of bending without breaking. In a forest, there grew a mighty oak tree and a slender stalk of bamboo. The oak tree was immense, its trunk thick and gnarled, its branches reaching defiantly toward the sky. It was proud of its strength. It would often look down at the bamboo and say, "You are so weak and flimsy. You bow and sway at the slightest breeze. Look at me. I am strong. I stand firm against the wind. Nothing can move me." The bamboo would just rustle its leaves and say nothing. One day, a great storm gathered. Winds howled with a ferocious power the forest had never known. The mighty oak tree stood its ground. It braced its powerful trunk, locked its deep roots into the earth, and resisted the wind with all its might. It would not bend. It would not yield. The slender bamboo, however, did the opposite. As the fierce wind blew, the bamboo bent low, almost to the ground. It yielded to the wind's power, letting the force flow over and around it. It was flexible, supple, and did not resist. The storm raged all through the night. In the morning, when the sun rose on a calm, clear sky, the forest was changed. The mighty oak tree, which had resisted with all its strength, lay uprooted on the ground. Its massive trunk was split, its proud branches shattered. In its rigid resistance, it had been broken. And nearby, the slender stalk of bamboo stood tall once more. It had bent with the storm, and when the wind passed, it simply straightened up again, unharmed, its green leaves glistening in the morning sun. The master taught, "The rigid mind is like a dead tree. It is the first to crack in a storm. The flexible mind is like a bamboo. It bends and survives." This parable is a powerful lesson in the difference between rigidity and resilience. We often mistake rigidity for strength. We think that being unyielding, holding firm to our plans, our opinions, and our expectations is a sign of power. The oak tree represents this rigid mindset. It meets force with force, resistance with resistance, but life, like the storm, is often a force far greater than our own will. When we resist it rigidly, we are the ones who break. The bamboo represents a different kind of strength, the strength of flexibility. It does not fight the storm, it harmonizes with it. It adapts, yields, and allows the force to pass. This yielding is not weakness. It is a profound and practical wisdom that ensures survival and peace. As you rest here, think about an area in your life where you are being rigid. Is there a situation you are trying to force, an outcome you are clinging to, an opinion you are unwilling to reconsider? This is your inner oak tree. Feel the tension that this rigidity creates in your mind and body. The strain of resisting, of holding on, of trying to control the uncontrollable. It is an exhausting way to live. Now, can you imagine yourself as the bamboo? What would it feel like to bend a little in this situation? To yield, to adapt, to let go of your tight grip on a specific outcome. This doesn't mean giving up. It means being smart, being resilient. It means choosing peace over the struggle of resistance. Tonight, let go of the need to be the oak tree. The storms of the day are over. It is time to stop resisting. Imagine your spine, your muscles, your very mind becoming as flexible and supple as a stalk of bamboo. With each exhale, release your rigidity. Allow yourself to bend. Allow yourself to yield to the gentle pull of sleep. There is no need to stand firm against anything now. You are safe. You can let the winds of thought blow past you. Without resistance, they cannot harm you. Bend with the breath. Sway with the gentle rhythm of your heart. In this flexibility, you will find not weakness, but a deep and profound strength. The strength to rest, to recover, and to rise again tomorrow unharmed. Our journey takes us now to a bustling village square at dusk. The last of the merchants are packing their stalls. The air, once filled with the clamor of the day, is growing quiet. The scent of cooking fires and evening spices drifts from nearby homes. A few lanterns are being lit, casting long, soft shadows. We find a quiet stone bench under a large banyan tree, a place of calm observation at the edge of the fading activity. Here, we will learn the wisdom of choosing what we allow into our hearts. There once was a great warrior, a samurai known for his strength and skill, but also for his hot temper. He heard tales of a wise old Zen master who lived near the village, and it was said this master could not be angered. The samurai, proud and arrogant, decided this could not be true. He would be the one to provoke the old man. He went to the place where the master was teaching a small group of followers. The samurai burst in and began to insult the master. He used the foulest language he knew. He called the master a fraud, a coward, and a fool. He insulted his ancestors, his teachings, and his appearance. He did everything he could to incite a reaction. Throughout the tirade, the Zen master remained perfectly calm. He sat with a gentle, serene expression on his face, listening as if the samurai were describing a passing cloud. After the samurai had exhausted himself and run out of insults, he stood panting, filled with rage and confusion at the master's lack of response. Finally, the master spoke, his voice soft and even. "Young man," he said, "if you buy a gift for someone, and that person does not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The samurai was startled by the question. "Well, it would belong to me, of course," he replied. "The one who bought it." The master smiled. "Exactly," he said. "And so it is with your anger and your insults. You have come here and offered them to me as a gift. I have chosen not to accept them." The samurai stood in stunned silence. He had come with a gift of anger, and the master had simply refused to take it, leaving the samurai to carry it himself. In that moment, the warrior understood the source of true power. The master taught, "Your peace is your own. Do not let others rent space in your head." This profound story teaches a crucial lesson about emotional responsibility. We often believe that other people have the power to make us angry, sad, or hurt. We say, "He made me so mad," as if our emotional state is something that can be directly controlled by another person. The wisdom of the Master shows us that this is not true. Another person's words, anger, or insults are like a gift. They are offered to us, but we always have a choice to accept the gift or to refuse it. If we accept it by getting angry, by taking the insult personally, by reacting, then we have taken on their negativity as our own. If we choose not to accept it, the negativity remains with the person who offered it. Our inner peace is not dependent on the behavior of others, but on our own choice not to accept their toxic gifts. As you settle into the quiet of the night, think of an unkind word, a criticism, or a negative interaction you experienced recently, something that made you feel angry or hurt. This was a gift of negativity that was offered to you. Notice if you are still carrying it. Is the anger still simmering? Is the hurt still tender? If so, it means you accepted the gift. You took it from them and are now carrying it yourself. Feel the weight of that choice. It is a heavy burden, and it does not belong to you. Now, in the safety of this moment, can you choose to give it back? Visualize the person who offered you the insult. Imagine yourself holding their gift of anger, and now, calmly and peacefully, hand it back to them. You can say silently in your mind, "I choose not to accept this. It is not yours to carry." Your peace is more important. You have the power to choose what enters your heart. Tonight, choose peace. Refuse to accept any gifts of anger, worry, or fear that were offered to you today. Let them remain with those who tried to give them. Your mind, your heart, your entire being is a sacred space. You are the gatekeeper, and tonight you are closing the gate to all negativity. Allow only peace to enter. Allow only calm to reside within you. Feel the incredible freedom and lightness that comes with this choice. You are not a victim of other people's emotions. You are the master of your own inner tranquility. Rest in that powerful, peaceful space. Let go of all that is not yours to hold and drift into a deep and truly untroubled sleep. We find ourselves once again by the side of a great river. But this time, it is a different place, a different time. It is early morning, just before dawn. A thick mist hangs over the water, and the world is painted in shades of gray and silver. The air is cool and damp, carrying the clean scent of wet stones and river reeds. The river itself is powerful and wide, its surface a smooth, dark mirror, flowing ceaselessly toward the distant sea. It is a place of constant change, of irresistible movement. Here, we will contemplate the profound wisdom of accepting impermanence. There was a young seeker who was deeply troubled by the pain of loss. His heart ached for things that had passed, for lost friendships, for moments of happiness that were now just memories, for the inevitable changes that life brought. He sought out a wise hermit who lived in a simple hut by the great river, hoping to find a way to stop this pain. "Master," the young man said, his voice filled with sorrow, "everything changes. Everything I love eventually fades or is taken away. How can I find peace when the world is in such constant flux? How can I stop things from changing?" The old hermit listened, his eyes reflecting the deep, slow-moving water. He did not speak for a long time. Instead, he gestured for the young man to sit with him on the riverbank. They sat in silence for over an hour, just watching the river flow. Finally, the young man grew restless. "Master," he asked, "why are we just sitting here? What am I supposed to be learning?" The hermit pointed a long, thin finger at the water. "You cannot step in the same river twice," he said, his voice as calm as the morning mist. "The water that touches your foot now is already gone, replaced by new water. The river is never the same from one moment to the next. It is life itself." He then looked at the young seeker. "Your pain comes from trying to hold the water in your fist. You want the river to stop for you. You want to build a dam and keep one perfect moment forever. But the nature of the river is to flow. The nature of life is to change. To fight this is to create your own suffering." "What should I do then?" asked the seeker. "Learn to be like the river." The hermit replied, "Flow with it. Do not cling to the water that has passed. Do not fear the water that is yet to come. Find your stability not in stopping the flow, but in flowing with it. The peace you seek is not in permanence, but in your acceptance of impermanence." The master taught, "Change is the only constant. Our suffering arises from our resistance to this truth." This parable speaks to one of the most fundamental aspects of existence: impermanence. Everything is in a state of constant flow. Our bodies, our thoughts, our relationships, the world around us, nothing remains static. We are born, we grow, we age, we die. Seasons change. Joyful moments pass. Sad moments pass. The seeker's suffering is universal. It is the pain of attachment in a world where nothing can be permanently held. We try to grasp and hold onto pleasant experiences, people, and situations, and we suffer when they inevitably change. The hermit's wisdom is to shift our perspective entirely. Instead of fighting the current, we must learn to swim with it. Peace is found not by creating an island of permanence in the river of life, but by becoming a graceful swimmer, moving with the currents of change with acceptance and ease. As you lie here, resting in the stillness, feel the gentle, constant flow of your own breath, in and out. Each breath is new. The breath you just took is gone forever, replaced by this one. Your very life force is a river, always in motion. Now, bring to mind something in your life that is changing, or something that you have lost. A job, a relationship, a phase of your life, your own youth. Feel the resistance in you, the wish that things could have stayed the same. This is you trying to hold the water in your fist. Can you, just for tonight, release that grip? Can you look at that change, not as a loss, but simply as the river flowing on? It is not good or bad. It is simply the nature of things. Acknowledging this truth does not mean you don't feel sadness. It means you don't add the extra layer of suffering that comes from resistance. Imagine your bed is a safe, sturdy boat, and it is floating on the gentle, ceaseless river of time. You do not need to paddle or steer. You only need to rest. Allow the current to carry you. Let go of the shore of yesterday. Do not worry about the bend in the river up ahead. Be here now, floating peacefully in the gentle flow. The river knows its way to the great ocean of sleep. Trust its current. Release your resistance to change. Flow with the rhythm of your breath. In this gentle acceptance, you will find a peace that is deeper than any temporary circumstance. A peace that flows. Drift now, peacefully, effortlessly, into the deep, calm waters of sleep. Our journey continues to a silent, serene courtyard within a mountain monastery. It is a clear, cloudless night. A large stone basin filled with perfectly still water sits in the center of the courtyard. The air is crisp and cold, and the only light comes from the full moon, hanging like a perfect silver disk in the dark sky. The moon's reflection is captured flawlessly on the surface of the water in the basin. It is a place of stillness, reflection, and illusion. Here, we will learn to distinguish illusion from reality. A young, earnest monk was meditating in the courtyard one night, gazing at the reflection of the moon in the basin of water. He was captivated by its beauty. The reflection was so clear, so perfect. It seemed as real as the moon in the sky. He felt a great desire to possess it, to hold this perfect, watery moon in his hands. He reached into the basin, his hands cupped, and tried to scoop up the moon. But the moment his hands touched the water, the surface broke. The reflection shattered into 1,000 shimmering pieces of light. The moon was gone. When he pulled his hands out, they were empty, holding only water that trickled through his fingers. He tried again and again. Each time he reached for the reflection, it was destroyed by his very attempt to grasp it. He grew more and more frustrated and despondent. An older monk, who had been watching from the shadows, approached him quietly. "What troubles you, brother?" the old monk asked. "I am trying to get the moon," the young monk said, pointing at the shattered light in the basin. "But every time I try to take it, I destroy it." The older monk smiled gently. He did not look down at the water. Instead, he pointed up at the sky. "Your problem," he said softly, "is that you are looking in the wrong place. for what you seek. The young monk followed his finger and looked up. There, high above, was the real moon, whole, serene, and untouchable, shining down on everything. He had been so focused on the beautiful but fragile reflection that he had forgotten the real thing entirely. The master taught, "Do not mistake the reflection for the source." This simple and beautiful parable speaks to the nature of illusion and reality. The moon in the water represents all the things in the world that we chase after, believing they will bring us lasting happiness. Wealth, fame, praise, sensory pleasures, even a particular emotional state. These things are like the reflection. They are beautiful, captivating, but they are ultimately transient and insubstantial. Our very attempt to grasp them and hold them tightly is what shatters them and causes us pain. The real moon in the sky represents the true source of peace and contentment, which is not found in external things, but within our own true nature. It is the unchanging awareness, the deep inner stillness that is always present, regardless of the ripples on the surface of our lives. We so often get lost in chasing the reflections, forgetting to look up, or rather, to look in, to find the real, unshakable source of our own light. As you lie here, floating on the edge of sleep, consider the reflections you have been chasing. What external thing have you been hoping will finally make you happy or peaceful? A new possession, the approval of another person, a specific outcome in your life. Notice the energy you spend trying to grasp these things, the anxiety, the striving, the frustration when they slip through your fingers, just like the watery moon. This is the suffering of chasing illusions. Now, gently turn your attention away from those reflections. Bring your awareness inward. Can you sense the real moon within you? It is not a thought or a feeling. It is the silent, peaceful awareness that is watching your thoughts, hearing the sounds around you, feeling your breath. It is the still, serene sky of your own consciousness. It has always been there, perfect and whole. You do not need to chase any reflection tonight. The peace you seek is not outside of you. It is your very nature. Let go of the striving. Release the chase. Allow your attention to rest in the vast, quiet sky of your own being. The real moon is right here. It is you. Feel its calm, steady light filling your entire body. This light cannot be shattered. It cannot be taken from you. It is your true home. Rest in this inner light. Bathe in its gentle, serene glow. Allow it to illuminate your path into a deep, peaceful, and dreamless sleep. Our path now leads us up a long, winding staircase carved into the side of a mountain. The air grows thinner and purer with each step. At the top, we arrive at a small, ancient temple. But this temple is unusual. There are no gongs, no chanting, no monks bustling about. It is completely, profoundly silent. Dust lies thick on the floors, and the only movement is the slow creep of ivy up the stone walls. It feels as if no one has been here for 100 years. It is a place of absolute quiet, a sanctuary of stillness. Here, we will discover that the peace we seek is not in a place, but in a state of being. There was a man who was tormented by the noise of the world, the shouting in the marketplace, the clatter of carts on the cobblestones, the endless chatter of his neighbors. It all grated on his nerves and left him with a constant headache of the soul. He longed for true peace and quiet. He became convinced that if he could only find a place of perfect silence, he would finally be at rest. He left his village and journeyed far and wide, seeking this place. He went to remote forests, but found them full of the noise of birds and rustling leaves. He went to desolate deserts, but the wind howled and whistled in his ears. Finally, he heard a legend of an ancient, abandoned temple on the highest peak of a sacred mountain, a place known as the Temple of Absolute Silence. After a difficult and perilous climb, he reached the temple. It was just as the legends described. It was utterly silent. No wind, no birds, no sound at all. A deep, heavy quiet pressed in on him. At first, he was ecstatic. Finally, he thought, perfect peace. He sat down on the floor to meditate, ready to dissolve into the silence. But as he sat, a new sound began to emerge, one he had never noticed before. It was a low, rhythmic thumping, thump, 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 and then a soft, continuous rushing sound, whoosh, whoosh. He became intensely irritated. What was this noise? He searched the temple, but there was nothing. The sounds were still there. He finally realized, with dawning horror, that the noise was coming from inside him. It was the frantic, fearful beating of his own heart, and the sound of the blood rushing through his ears. He had found a silent place, but he had brought the noise with him. His own mind, his own body, were the source of the disturbance. The Master taught, if you cannot find peace within yourself, you will never find it anywhere else. This parable powerfully illustrates a common misunderstanding about the nature of peace. We often treat peace as an external condition, something to be found by changing our environment. We think, if only I could get away from this noisy city, or if only this person would stop bothering me, then I would have peace. The man in the story achieves his goal of finding an externally silent place, only to discover that the real noise is internal. The turmoil was not in the marketplace. It was in his own mind and his reaction to the marketplace. The true source of disturbance is our own restless, agitated mind, the beating heart of our anxieties, fears, and desires. The parable teaches us that true silence, true peace, is not the absence of external sound. It is the quieting of the internal clamor. It is a portable sanctuary that we must build within ourselves. As you lie here tonight, the world outside may be quiet, or it may not. But turn your attention inward. Can you hear the noise inside your own mind? The replays of the day, the planning for tomorrow, the quiet hum of anxiety. This is the sound of your own beating heart. For a long time, you may have believed that you need perfect external conditions to fall asleep, to be at peace. You may have been searching for your own silent temple. What if, just for tonight, you stopped searching outside? What if you accepted that the only peace that truly matters is the one you can cultivate right here, within you, regardless of circumstance? Can you listen to the noise of your mind, not with irritation, but with gentle acceptance, as you would listen to the sound of rain? By not fighting it, you rob it of its power to disturb you. The true temple of silence is not on a mountaintop. It is in the space between your thoughts. It is in the calm acceptance of this present moment. Tonight, stop fighting the noise in your mind. Simply observe it. Listen to the rhythm of your heart, not as a disturbance, but as a lullaby, the very beat of your life. Listen to the flow of your breath, a soft, rushing sound that is carrying you to sleep. By befriending these internal sounds, you transform them. The noise becomes music. The disturbance becomes peace. Build your temple of silence right here in your own being. There is nowhere else you need to go. You are already home. Rest now in the sacred, profound quiet of your own peaceful heart. Our journey brings us to a simple, rustic well in the courtyard of a farming family's home. The sun is low in the sky, casting a warm, golden light over the scene. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves of a nearby willow tree. The air smells of dry earth, growing vegetables, and the clean, cool scent of water from deep within the ground. An old wooden bucket, weathered and gray, sits by the stone lip of the well. It is a place of simple, daily tasks. Here, we will explore the futility of anxious effort. There was once a young student who was very eager to achieve enlightenment. He was also a profound warrior. He worried that he wasn't meditating correctly. He worried that he wasn't wise enough. He worried about what his teacher thought of him. His mind was a constant storm of what ifs and if onlys. His teacher, a patient old monk, saw the student's distress. One day, he gave the student a task. "Go to the well," he said, "and bring me a bucket of water. But I have a special challenge for you. You must bring me the bucket with the water's surface perfectly still, without a single ripple." The student was determined to succeed. He lowered the bucket into the well and drew up the cool, clear water. As he lifted it, the water sloshed and rippled. He set it down, waited for it to become still, and then tried to lift it again, moving as slowly and carefully as he could. But the slightest movement of his hands, the tiniest tremor of his anxiety, sent new ripples across the surface. He tried for over an hour, He held his breath. He tensed every muscle in his body, trying to be perfectly steady. But the more he tried to force the water to be still, the more it seemed to move. His desperate effort was creating the very disturbance he was trying to prevent. He grew frustrated and exhausted, on the verge of tears. The old monk came over to him. "You are trying very hard," he said gently. "I can't do it, master," the student cried. "The more I try to stop the ripples, the more I create. It's impossible." The monk smiled. "You are correct. You cannot force the water to be still. So stop trying." He gestured to the ground. "Simply put the bucket down, walk away, and let the water become still on its own." The student, having no other option, did as he was told. He set the heavy bucket down on the ground, stepped back, and simply watched. And as he stood there, doing nothing, the ripples slowly, gradually subsided. Within a minute, the water's surface was a perfect, glassy mirror, reflecting the sky. The stillness he had fought so hard to create had arrived effortlessly once he stopped trying. The master taught, the mind is like a pond. When it is agitated, it becomes difficult to see. But if you allow it to settle, the clarity emerges. This beautiful parable is about the backwards law. For certain things, the more we consciously try to achieve them, the more they elude us. This is especially true for peace of mind and for sleep. The student's anxious effort to force the water into stillness is a perfect metaphor for our own struggles with a restless mind. We lie in bed and try to fall asleep. We try to force our thoughts to be quiet. We try to make ourselves relax. But this very effort is a form of tension and agitation. It is like shaking the bucket. The wisdom of the master is to recognize that some things, like stillness and sleep, cannot be achieved through force. They can only be allowed. The solution is to let go of the struggle, to put the bucket down, and to trust that peace will arise on its own if we simply create the conditions for it by doing less, not more. As you lie here, notice any effort you might be making to fall asleep. Are you trying to quiet your mind? Are you worrying that you're not yet asleep? Are you tensing your body in an attempt to force relaxation? This is you trying to hold the bucket of water perfectly still. Can you feel how this very effort is creating ripples of tension? The harder you try, the more awake and agitated you might feel. This is the backwards law in action. What would happen if you were to follow the master's advice? What if you were to simply put the bucket down, just for this moment, give up the goal of falling asleep, release the effort, let go of the struggle. Your only job is to lie here and breathe. You are not trying to get anywhere or achieve anything. You are simply resting. You don't need to do anything to find peace. Peace is your natural state. It is the stillness at the bottom of the pond. All you have to do is stop stirring the water. So, stop stirring. Put the bucket down. Release all effort. Allow your mind to be as it is. Let the thoughts ripple and move as they will without your interference. They are not a problem unless you try to fight them. By simply watching them, by doing nothing, you allow them to settle on their own. The stillness will come. The clarity will emerge. Sleep will arrive. It will come not because you chased it, but because you created a quiet, effortless space for it to land. Rest now. Do nothing. And allow the deep, still waters of peace to claim you for the night. Our journey takes us to a wide, green field at the foot of a mountain. It is midday, but a gentle cloud cover softens the light and cools the air. The field smells of clover and damp earth. At one end of the field, several straw targets are set up. A lone archer stands, bow in hand, facing the targets. The atmosphere is one of focus, stillness, and intention. There is no sound but the whisper of the wind and the distant call of a hawk circling high above. Here we will explore the deep wisdom of aligning our intention with our action. There was a young prince who wished to become a master archer. He sought out the greatest Zen archery master in the kingdom. The master was an old man who lived a simple life, and his skill with the bow was said to be legendary. On the first day of training, the master did not hand the prince a bow. Instead, he told him to practice breathing. For a week, the prince did nothing but sit and breathe, learning to find the still point within himself. The prince grew impatient. On the second week, the master finally gave him a bow, but no arrow. He told the prince to practice holding the bow, raising it, and drawing the string over and over until the bow felt like an extension of his own arms. The prince complied, but he was frustrated. He wanted to shoot. Finally, on the third week, the master gave him a single arrow. "Now," he said, "you will shoot." The prince, eager to show his skill, quickly knocked the arrow, aimed at the center of the distant target, and let it fly. The arrow missed the target completely, burying itself in the grass. He tried again, concentrating fiercely on the bullseye. Again, he missed. He tried again and again, his frustration mounting with each shot. His focus was entirely on the target, on the result he wanted to achieve. The master watched him for a while, then said, "You are trying to hit the target. That is your mistake. The target is the future. Your mind is out there, not here. You are not shooting at something. You are shooting from something." The master took the bow. He stood, breathed, and became perfectly still. He did not seem to be looking at the target. His entire being seemed focused inward. He raised the bow, drew the string, and released the arrow in one smooth, effortless motion. The arrow flew straight and true, embedding itself in the dead center of the bullseye. "Do not aim at the target," the master said. "Aim at yourself. Perfect the state from which you shoot. Align your breath, your body, and your mind into a single, unified whole. When the archer is right, the arrow will find its own way." hitting of the target is merely a consequence of a perfect shot, not the goal of it. The master taught where you are now is more important than where you want to go. For where you are now determines your trajectory. This parable about Zen archery is a profound metaphor for living a mindful and effective life. We are often like the young prince, completely obsessed with the target, the goal, the desired outcome, the future achievement. Our minds are so fixed on the result that we neglect the process. We neglect the state of being from which we are acting. The master's wisdom is to shift the focus from the external target to the internal source. The quality of our actions is determined by the quality of our inner state. When we act from a place of franticness, anxiety, or scattered attention, our arrows will fly wide. But when we first cultivate inner stillness, focus, and clarity, when we aim at ourselves, our actions become naturally graceful, effective, and true. The successful outcome is not something we chase, but something that unfolds naturally from a state of rightness in the present moment. As you lie here, what target is your mind fixed upon tonight? Is it the goal of getting enough sleep? Is it a problem you need to solve tomorrow? A desire you hope to fulfill? Notice how your attention is projected out into the future, fixed on a result. Can you feel the subtle tension this creates? The anxiety of, what if I miss? This is the state of the young prince, focused on the target and not on himself. Now, gently draw your attention away from the target. Bring it back here to the present moment. Bring it back to the archer, to you. Your only task is to perfect the state from which you will launch into sleep. Focus on your breath. Align your body into a state of deep relaxation. Align your mind into a state of quiet acceptance. This is your practice. Let go of the target of sleep. It is in the future. You are here now. Aim at stillness. Aim at peace. Cultivate the inner state of perfect rest. Feel your body and mind coming into alignment. The frantic archer is becoming calm. Your breath is the anchor, the still point. Your body is the bow, relaxed and ready. Your intention to rest is the arrow. When your inner state is one of deep, effortless calm, the arrow of sleep will find its own way to the center of the target. You do not need to force it. You only need to be here now, in this perfect state of readiness for rest. Breathe in calm. Breathe out struggle. And allow the perfect shot to be released, sending you straight and true into the heart of a deep and peaceful night. Our imagination carries us to a vast, sun-drenched quarry at the base of a great mountain. The air is warm and hazy with white dust. The dominant sounds are the rhythmic clink, clink, clink of hammers on stone and the grating sound of chisels. All around are massive blocks of marble, some rough and newly cut, others partially shaped. It is a place of immense effort, patience, and slow, gradual transformation. Here, we will witness the quiet power of persistence. There was a stone cutter who worked every day in a large quarry. He was a small man, and he was not as strong as the other workers. While others used great sledges to smash the rock, he had only a small hammer and a set of fine chisels. He was often mocked for his slow, painstaking methods. His task was to split a gigantic block of granite. The other workers laughed. "You will be here until you are an old man, little one," they would say. "That rock will not yield to your tapping." The stone cutter paid them no mind. He would arrive each morning, study the great stone, and find a faint line, a potential fissure that only he could see. And then he would begin. He would take his chisel, place it on the line, and tap it with his hammer. Tap. It was a small sound, a tiny impact. He would move the chisel a fraction of an inch and tap again. Tap, and again. Tap. All day long he did this. Hundreds, then thousands of taps. From the outside, it looked as if nothing was happening. The massive stone remained unchanged, impervious. The sun beat down. The other workers finished their tasks and went home. The stone cutter kept tapping, his rhythm steady, his focus unwavering. He did this for days, which turned into weeks. He followed the same invisible line, tapping with the same gentle, consistent force. The mockery of the other workers faded into a grudging respect, and then into simple forgetfulness as they moved on to other parts of the quarry. Then one day, as he made one more small tap, a deep groan came from within the stone. A hairline crack appeared along the line he had been tracing. With the very next tap, the great block of granite split cleanly in two, falling apart with a thunderous sound that echoed through the quarry. The other workers came running, amazed. "How did you do it?" they asked. "Was it that last tap? Was it a magic blow?" The stone cutter, wiping the sweat from his brow, looked at the two perfect halves of the stone. "It was not the last tap," he said quietly. "It was all of them that came before." The master taught, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and the splitting of a mountain begins with a single tap." This parable is a beautiful illustration of the power of patient, consistent effort. We often live in a world that craves instant results. We want to see dramatic progress immediately, and we become discouraged when our efforts seem to yield nothing. We want the magic blow that solves everything at once. The wisdom of the stone cutter lies in his understanding that great change is the result of a long accumulation of small, seemingly insignificant actions. Each tap on its own was nothing, but together they built up a force, a tension within the stone that eventually led to the breakthrough. He was not focused on the final outcome in every moment. He was focused on the quality and consistency of each single tap. This is the path to mastering any skill, overcoming any great challenge, or cultivating any inner quality like peace or compassion. It happens one small, patient step at a time. As you lie here, think of a large stone in your life that you are trying to change. A deep-seated habit, a difficult life situation, or a personal goal that seems impossibly far away. You may feel like the stone cutter at the beginning, small and powerless before a giant task. You may have tried to smash it with great force and failed. You may have become discouraged because your efforts seem to produce no visible results. You are looking for the one magic blow. Tonight, can you adopt the wisdom of the stone cutter? Can you honor the power of the small, single tap? Your tap tonight is simply this one conscious breath, and the next one, and the one after that. Each gentle, relaxed breath is one small tap on the stone of your restlessness. It may not seem like it's doing anything, but it is. Each moment you choose to relax instead of tense up is a tap. Each time you let go of a worry is a tap. You are not trying to split the whole stone tonight. You are just focusing on this one single, gentle tap. Breathe in, breathe out. This is your patient, consistent work, and it is enough. Trust in the process. The results are cumulative. The peace you are building is the sum of all these small, quiet moments of letting go. The great stone of your accumulated daily stress will yield. It will crack open to reveal the deep peace within, but it will not be the last breath that does it. It will be all of them together. Tap, 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 with each gentle breath, and drift into the quiet satisfaction of your patient work, knowing that you are slowly, surely, finding your way to rest. We find ourselves walking through a sparse, sun-bleached landscape under a high, bright sun. The ground is cracked and dry, and the only vegetation is the occasional hardy shrub. The heat shimmers above the ground. The sun is so bright that everything casts a sharp, dark shadow. Our own shadow walks with us, a silent, dark companion that stretches and shrinks as we move. It is a place of stark contrast, of light and dark. Here, we will learn to face the parts of ourselves we often ignore. There once was a man who was terrified of his own shadow. He hated the dark, silent shape that followed him everywhere. He thought it was a blemish, a dark stain that proved he was not pure and good. He decided he must get rid of it. First, he tried to run from it. He ran as fast as he could, hoping to leave the shadow behind. But the faster he ran, the faster the shadow ran with him, always attached to his feet. He ran until he was breathless and exhausted, but the shadow was still there. Next, he decided he would hide from it. He went into a dark forest, seeking the deepest, most lightless place he could find. He He hid under a thick canopy of leaves where the sun could not reach. He looked down, and for a moment he was triumphant. The shadow was gone, but as his eyes adjusted, he realized he was now completely enveloped in darkness. In his attempt to escape the shadow, he had lost the light entirely. Confused and tired, he emerged from the forest and sat down under a large, shady tree. He was too weary to run, too weary to hide. He just sat. As he sat quietly in the cool shade of the tree, he noticed something. His shadow was still there, lying peacefully on the ground beside him. In the gentle shade, it was no longer a stark, menacing shape, but a soft, indistinct patch of gray. It was quiet. It was at rest. In that moment of stillness, the man understood. His running was what made the shadow dance frantically. His fear was what gave it power. The shadow was not an enemy to be defeated. It was simply a natural consequence of his standing in the light. To have a body, to exist in the world, was to cast a shadow. The master taught, to befriend your shadow is to become whole. To run from it is to be forever pursued. The shadow in this parable represents what modern psychology calls the shadow self. It is all the parts of ourselves that we disown, repress, or deny. Our anger, our fear, our jealousy, our insecurities. Like the man in the story, we often try to get rid of these parts. We try to run from them by staying busy and distracted, or we try to hide from them by pretending they don't exist. But these strategies are exhausting and ultimately futile. The more we run, the more these disowned parts chase us, popping up in unexpected and destructive ways. The wisdom of the parable is that the only way to find peace with our shadow is to stop running and turn to face it. We must find a place of rest, the shady tree of mindful self-acceptance, and allow our shadow to simply be there. When we sit with these difficult parts of ourselves without judgment, they lose their terrifying power. We realize they are just a natural part of being human. True wholeness comes not from being all light, but from integrating our light and our darkness. As you lie here in the darkness of your room, think about a part of yourself that you don't like, a feeling you judge as bad, an aspect of your personality you try to hide. This is your shadow. Notice your instinct to run from it or push it away. This is the struggle that causes so much of your inner turmoil. It is the frantic running of the man in the sun. Tonight, can you try a different approach? Can you find the shady tree of gentle awareness? Imagine you are sitting peacefully under that tree, and you invite your shadow, your fear, your anger, your sadness to simply sit beside you. You don't have to fix it or fight it. You are just allowing it to be there in the quiet shade of your acceptance. Stop running. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is a part of you that needs your kindness and acceptance. By allowing it to rest, you allow yourself to rest. Breathe into the places of darkness within you. Send them the light of your gentle, non-judgmental attention. You will find that when you stop fighting your shadow, it becomes quiet. It lies down peacefully beside you. To be whole is to accept all of who you are, the light and the dark, the peace and the turmoil. Allow all of it to be here tonight. In this radical acceptance, you will find a wholeness, a deep and unshakable peace that you could never find by running. Rest now, you and your shadow together, whole and complete, drifting into a deep and healing sleep. Our journey takes us to a small, walled garden in the early spring. The air is cool and moist, rich with the smell of newly turned earth. The first tender green shoots are just beginning to push their way through the dark soil. The sun is gentle, its warmth just beginning to stir the sleeping world. It is a place of quiet potential, of life waiting to unfold. Here, in the stillness of the garden, we will contemplate the vast potential that lies dormant within us. A young disciple came to his master, his heart heavy with feelings of inadequacy. "Master," he said, "I look at you and the other senior monks. You are like great, strong trees, offering shade and wisdom to the world. But I feel like nothing. I am small, weak, and I have nothing to offer." The master listened patiently. When the disciple had finished, the master opened his hand. In his palm lay a tiny, ordinary-looking seed. "What do you see?" the master asked. "A seed, master," the disciple replied, confused. "It is small and hard and brown. Is that all?" the master asked. "Yes," said the disciple. "It is insignificant." The master smiled. "I see something different. Inside this small, hard seed, I see a future tree. I see a massive trunk, 1,000 branches reaching for the sky. I see green leaves that will dance in the wind. I see a home for birds and shade for weary travelers. I see an entire forest, all held within this tiny form. All it needs is the right conditions: soil, water, and sunlight. And time." He closed his hand over the seed and looked at the young disciple. "You look at yourself and see only the small, hard seed of this present moment. You judge your current form and find it lacking. But you do not see the potential that I see. Within you is the blueprint for a great tree. All that you are is already there, waiting. Your practice, your patience, your kindness to yourself, this is the soil, the water, and the light. Do not despise the seed for not yet being the tree." The master taught. The mighty redwood began as a seed no bigger than a child's fingernail. This parable is a beautiful and compassionate teaching about potential and self-judgment. We so often look at ourselves and see only our current limitations. Our small heart form, we compare our current state to the fully realized state of others. Our seed to their great tree, and we fall into despair and self-criticism. The master's wisdom is to see beyond the present form, and recognize the potential that lies within. Enlightenment, peace, or wisdom are not things we must acquire from the outside. They are inherent qualities of our own nature, like the tree is an inherent quality of the seed. The potential is already complete within us. Our work is not to become something we are not, but to create the right conditions for what we already are to emerge. This requires patience, nourishment, and most importantly, a compassionate trust in the unfolding process. As you lie here, ready for sleep, bring to mind the ways you have judged yourself today, the moments you felt you were not good enough, not wise enough, not calm enough. This is the voice that sees only the seed. You may feel small or insignificant, especially when you think about the person you wish to be. You see the gap and call it failure. Tonight, can you change your perspective? Can you look at yourself with the eyes of the master? See yourself not as a finished product to be judged, but as a seed, perfect in its potential. Within you right now is all the peace, all the strength, and all the wisdom you will ever need. It is not missing. It is dormant, waiting. Your bed tonight is the rich, dark soil. Your gentle, steady breath is the nourishing water. The kind, accepting awareness you bring to yourself is the warm sunlight. You are providing the perfect conditions for your inner tree of peace to grow. You do not need to force it. A seed does not struggle to become a tree. It simply unfolds when the conditions are right. Trust the process. Be patient with yourself. Let go of the harsh judgment. You are not a failure for being a seed. You are a miracle of potential. Rest now in this knowing. Allow the deep, quiet work of growth to happen as you sleep. Nourish your seed with rest and let it dream of the great, peaceful tree it is becoming. Our journey leads us into a simple, elegant tea room in a traditional Japanese home. The room is spare, with tatami mat floors, paper screen walls, and a single, beautiful flower arrangement in a small alcove. The air is still and clean. The late afternoon sun streams through the paper screen, casting a soft, diffuse light. A tea master is preparing for a ceremony. Every movement is slow, deliberate, and full of grace. It is a place of profound mindfulness and presence. Here, we will find the sacred in the ordinary. There was a young monk who was very earnest in his spiritual practice. He spent hours each day in formal meditation. He chanted sutras until his throat was sore. He worked hard, striving for a moment of great awakening, a flash of cosmic insight. But he felt he was getting nowhere. Mind still wandered, and peace felt distant. One day, he was assigned to be the assistant to the monastery's old tea master. The tea master was a simple man, not known for giving grand lectures. His entire world was the tea ceremony. The young monk thought this was a waste of his time. How could pouring tea lead to enlightenment? He watched the old master. He watched him clean the tea bowl with a precise, loving gesture. He watched him fold the silk cloth with absolute attention. He watched him scoop the green tea powder, his movements unhurried and full of reverence. He watched him whisk the tea, his focus complete, as if nothing else in the universe existed but that bowl and that whisk. There was no striving in the old master, no grand ambition. There was only the simple, total engagement with the task at hand. The young monk worked with him for months, his impatience slowly giving way to a grudging admiration, and then to a quiet awe. One day, as the young monk was cleaning a tea bowl himself, he decided to try to emulate his master. He stopped thinking about enlightenment. He stopped waiting for a special experience. He put his entire mind, his entire being, into the simple act of cleaning the bowl. He felt the warmth of the water, the texture of the ceramic, the smooth glide of the cloth. In that moment of total, simple presence, his mind became utterly still and clear. The separation between himself and the bowl, between the act and the actor, dissolved. There was only cleaning, and in that simple act, he found the profound peace and clarity he had been striving for so desperately in his formal meditation. He looked up, and the tea master was smiling at him, a knowing light in his eyes. The master taught, "When you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat. When you drink your tea, just drink your tea." This is Zen. The parable of the tea master beautifully illustrates the core principle of mindfulness. We often divide our lives into spiritual activities and ordinary activities. We believe that peace and insight are to be found only in the special, set-aside moments. The tea master's wisdom shows that any activity, no matter how mundane, can be a profound spiritual practice if it is done with complete presence and attention. Enlightenment is not a future event to be achieved. It is the quality of awareness we bring to this present moment. The sacred is not in a faraway temple. It is hidden in the fabric of the ordinary. By giving our full, undivided attention to the task at hand, we quiet the restless mind and touch the deep stillness that is our true nature. As you lie here, your tea ceremony is the simple act of resting. It is an ordinary act, one you do every night. Perhaps you have been treating it as a means to an end, the end being morning. You may be lying here, but your mind is elsewhere, reviewing the past, planning the future, lost in a story. You are not fully present in the simple act of resting. Tonight, can you become a tea master of rest? Can you bring your full, gentle attention to the simple sensations of this moment? Feel the texture of the sheets against your skin. Feel the weight of the blanket upon you. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your own chest as you breathe. There is no need to seek a special state. This moment, right here, is all that matters. Let go of the past and the future. Bring your whole being into the simple, sacred act of lying still. Be present with the feeling of your head on the pillow. Be present with the quiet in the room. This is your practice. This is your ceremony. There is no grand insight to achieve. There is only this breath and this one. In this profound simplicity, you will find the peace you have been seeking. Immerse yourself in the experience of resting. Allow it to be the only thing in your universe right now. And in this total, mindful presence, you will dissolve effortlessly into the deep, restorative stillness of sleep. We find ourselves standing at the base of a vast, ancient mountain. Its peak is shrouded in clouds, giving it an air of mystery and immensity. The sun is setting, and the mountain's face is painted in hues of deep purple and orange. It is utterly still, a silent giant that has witnessed the passing of ages. The air around it feels charged with a powerful, quiet energy. It is a place of unshakable stability and profound equanimity. Here we will learn the art of being unmoved by the passing storms of life. A young monk was being trained by a master who lived in a hermitage high on the slopes of a great mountain. The monk was sensitive and easily disturbed. A harsh word would upset him for days. An unexpected change in plans would throw him into a state of anxiety. The praise of others would make him giddy, and their criticism would crush him. One day, he confessed his struggles to his master. "Master, I am like a leaf in the wind. My peace is so fragile. The slightest event blows me about. How can I find a strength that does not waver?" The master did not answer with words. He simply said, "Sit." He led the monk to a spot with a clear view of the mountain's peak. "Watch the mountain," he instructed, "and do not move until you understand." The young monk sat. For hours, he watched the mountain. In the morning, the sun rose, bathing the mountain in golden light. The mountain did not react. It simply sat, accepting the light. Clouds gathered around its peak, obscuring the summit in a thick gray mist. The mountain sat, allowing the clouds to be there. A fierce wind began to howl, lashing at its stone face. The mountain sat, unmoving. Rain came, then sleet, then snow, blanketing the slopes in white. The mountain sat. The storm passed, and the sun came out again, melting the snow. Birds came and sang on its ledges. Animals roamed its forests. Through it all, the good weather and the bad, the light and the dark, the noise and the silence, the mountain remained. It was not indifferent. It was simply present to it all. Its deep, quiet essence, utterly undisturbed by the passing drama on its surface. The young monk sat for a full day and a night. And as the second dawn broke, he understood. He was not the leaf. He was not the storm. He was the mountain. The master taught, cultivate a mind like a mountain, vast, stable, and unmoved by the passing clouds of thought and emotion. This powerful parable teaches the wisdom of equanimity. Equanimity is the quality of inner balance and stability that allows us to experience the ups and downs of life without being thrown off center. We often identify with the weather of our lives, our fleeting emotions, our changing thoughts, our external circumstances. When a storm of anger or sadness comes, we believe, I am angry. When a sunny day of happiness arrives, we cling to it, fearing its departure. The monk's mistake was identifying as the leaf. The master's lesson is to shift our identification to the mountain. Our true nature, our core consciousness, is like the mountain. It is the vast, silent, stable presence that witnesses all the passing weather of our experience without being defined by it. The thoughts, feelings, and events come and go on the surface, but our deep being remains untouched. As you lie here, notice the weather of your mind tonight. Are there clouds of worry? Is there a wind of anxiety? Perhaps there are just a few stray thoughts drifting by like small white clouds. Your habit may be to identify with this weather, to believe that you are your anxiety, that you are your thoughts. This makes you feel like a fragile leaf, tossed about by every change. Tonight, can you make a different choice? Can you choose to identify with the mountain? Feel the solid weight of your body on the bed. This is your mountain-like stability. Feel the vast, quiet awareness that is observing the mental weather. That awareness is your true self. The thoughts and feelings can be there. The clouds can drift by. The storms may even rage. You do not have to make them go away. You simply have to be the mountain. Rest in your own vast, unshakable presence. The worries are just clouds on your surface. They are not the substance of who you are. The sounds in the room are just wind. They cannot move your core. Feel your deep inner stillness. It is older and more powerful than any fleeting emotion. It has been here your whole life, a silent, steady witness. Identify with this stillness. Become the mountain, vast, stable, and deeply, profoundly at peace. Let the weather of the mind pass. It will, and you will remain, resting in your own immense, quiet strength, sinking into a sleep as deep and solid as the mountain itself. Our journey brings us to a high, sweeping valley cupped between two ancient, granite-faced mountains. It is late afternoon, and the valley is filled with a golden, hazy light. The air is exceptionally still, creating a perfect silence. The ground is carpeted with soft moss and tiny alpine flowers. This valley is known for its remarkable echo. It is a place where whatever you give, you receive back with stunning clarity. Here, we will explore the truth that our world is a reflection of our own heart. A young boy lived with his mother in a small hut near a great valley. The boy had a quick temper and a heart often filled with anger. One day, after an argument with his mother, he ran out of the hut and up into the hills overlooking the valley. In his anger, he clenched his fists and screamed into the vast, empty space before him. "I hate you." A moment later, a voice from across the valley screamed back, "I hate you." The boy was shocked and frightened. He had never heard another person in this valley. He thought there must be a mean boy hiding in the mountains. He screamed again, even louder. "Who are you?" The voice echoed back. "Who are you?" Now he was truly angry. He yelled a string of insults into the valley, and each one was returned to him, word for word. Frustrated and scared, he ran back to his mother, crying. "Mother," he sobbed, "there is a mean boy in the valley who shouts hateful things at me." His mother, who was wise to the ways of the valley, understood immediately. She smiled and said, "Go back to the same spot. This time, cup your hands and shout something kind. See what happens." The boy was skeptical, but he trusted his mother. He went back to the edge of the valley. He took a deep breath and shouted, "You are wonderful." A moment later, a voice from across the valley replied, "You are wonderful." The boy was astonished. He broke into a wide smile and shouted, "I love you." The echo returned, clear and joyful. "I love you." The boy finally understood. The valley held no mean boy and no kind boy. It only held an echo. It was only giving him back what he himself was putting out. The master taught, your life is a mirror. If you frown at it, it will frown back. If you smile, it will return the greeting. This simple story reveals a profound law of human experience. We often perceive the world as something separate from us, something that happens to us. We believe there are mean people and kind people out there, independent of our own state of being. The parable of the echo suggests a different reality. The world and the people in it often act as a mirror, reflecting our own inner state back to us. If we approach the world with a heart full of anger, suspicion, and judgment, we will tend to find anger, suspicion, and judgment reflected back at us. If we approach the world with kindness, openness, and compassion, we are far more likely to encounter those same qualities in return. The voice in the valley is the echo of our own heart's cry. To change what we hear from the world, we must first change what we are shouting into it. As you lie here, gently drifting towards sleep, reflect on the echoes you heard from your world today. Were there echoes of frustration, of kindness, of conflict, of support? Notice the tendency to believe that these echoes originated out there with other people or with external events. This is the belief of the little boy, thinking there is another person in the valley. Now, gently consider the possibility that some of these echoes were a reflection of what you, yourself, were putting out. Was your heart shouting frustration, even silently? Was it sending out waves of anxiety? The world is very sensitive to these broadcasts. What if the world was simply mirroring your inner state? Tonight, as you prepare for rest, you have a chance to change the echo for tomorrow. You can choose what you will shout into the valley of your subconscious mind as you sleep. Let your final, waking thoughts be a shout of kindness to yourself. In the quiet of your mind, whisper, "You are peaceful," and listen for the echo. Whisper, "You are safe," and listen for the echo. Whisper, "I love you," and let that be the final, gentle echo that reverberates through your being. Fill the valley of your mind with peace and self-compassion. Send out the gentle call of rest. The world of your dreams and the world you wake to tomorrow will echo back the quality of this final, peaceful call. Rest now in the beautiful echo of your own kindness. Our imagination carries us to a wide, tranquil lake at midnight. The water is as smooth as black silk, perfectly mirroring the star-dusted sky. A thin crescent moon hangs low, casting a delicate silver path across the water. The air is utterly still, and the silence is so deep it feels like a presence. You are alone in a small wooden boat, drifting gently in the middle of the lake. It is a place of solitude, quiet, and unexpected encounters. Here, we will discover the source of our own anger. There was a fisherman who, after a long day's work, decided to meditate in his small boat. He rowed out to the middle of the lake, dropped a small anchor, closed his eyes, and began to breathe, enjoying the profound peace of the night. After some time, as he sat in deep meditative stillness, he felt a sudden, hard jolt. Another boat had bumped into his. His eyes snapped open, and his heart filled with instant anger. Who was this careless fool who had crashed into him in the middle of this vast, empty lake? He turned, ready to shout, ready to unleash his fury on the incompetent boater who had disturbed his peace. He opened his mouth to yell, but as he looked, he saw that the other boat was empty. There was no one in it. It was just an empty boat that had slipped its moorings and drifted silently across the lake on the gentle current. In that instant, his anger vanished. It simply evaporated. He could not be angry at an empty boat. It had no intention, no malice. It was just an object, moved by the wind and the water. He took a deep breath, and a small laugh escaped his lips. He realized that his anger had not come from the boat. It had come from within himself. The empty boat had simply bumped into it. He sat back down, closed his eyes again, and continued his meditation, but now with a new and deeper understanding. He realized that people, too, are often like that empty boat drifting, moved by their own hidden currents of pain, fear, and conditioning, bumping into us without malice or intention. The anger we feel is our own. The master taught, anger is a fire that you light for your enemy, but it burns only you. The parable of the empty boat is a master class in understanding the mechanics of anger. We almost always believe that our anger is caused by an external agent, a person, an event, a situation. We think, he made me angry. That traffic made me furious. The fisherman's sudden shift in perspective reveals the truth. The external event is merely the trigger. The anger itself is a pre-existing potential within us, a bump we are sensitive to. When the fisherman believed there was a person in the other boat, his mind created a story of blame, injustice, and personal offense. This story fueled the anger. When he saw the boat was empty, the story collapsed, and the anger had nothing to feed on. The source of anger is not the event, but our interpretation of the event, our story about it. Other people are often empty boats, acting not out of a desire to harm us, but out of their own unconscious patterns. As you lie here, think about the last time you felt a flash of anger or irritation today. Picture the person or situation that was the trigger. You can feel the familiar story arising. They shouldn't have done that. It wasn't fair. This is you, seeing a person in the other boat. Your mind is creating a story of blame and intention. Now, can you try to see an empty boat instead? Can you imagine that the person who angered you was simply drifting, moved by their own unseen currents of stress, fear, or ignorance? They did not set out to bump into you. They were just an empty boat. Can you see that the bump was impersonal? When you see the empty boat, the anger has nowhere to go. It cannot survive without a story of blame. Let go of the story. See the empty boats all around you. This does not mean you condone harmful actions. It means you release the personal poison of anger, which only harms you. Your peace is too precious to be disturbed by a drifting, empty boat. Breathe out the anger. It was never truly about the other boat. It was always inside you, and now you can let it go. Feel the space that opens up when the anger leaves. It is a space of peace, compassion, and understanding. Rest in that open, peaceful space. Drift on the calm, dark lake of your own mind, undisturbed, serene, and ready for a deep and profound sleep. Our journey takes us to a quiet, sun-dappled clearing in a deep forest. The ground is soft with fallen leaves. Sunlight filters through the high canopy, creating shifting patterns on the forest floor. The air is filled with the rich, loamy scent of the woods and the sound of birdsong. It is a peaceful place, but even in peace, unexpected things can happen. Here, we will learn about the nature of pain and the suffering we add to it. A wise master was teaching his students as they walked through a forest, Suddenly, a stray arrow, shot by a hunter from a great distance, flew through the trees and struck the master in the arm. It was a shallow wound, but it was painful. The master calmly broke the shaft, pulled the arrowhead from his arm, and continued to walk and teach. His students, however, were in an uproar. They gathered around him, their faces a mixture of shock, fear, and outrage. "Master, you are hurt," one cried. "This is terrible. Who could have been so careless? We must find this hunter and punish him," another shouted. A third student began to worry aloud. What if the arrow was poisoned? What if the wound becomes infected? This could be the end. They spent the rest of the walk lamenting, worrying, and fuming. That evening, the master gathered his students. His arm was bandaged, and his expression was serene. "Today," he said, "I was struck by an arrow. It caused me pain. This is unavoidable. This is the first arrow." He looked at his students. But then a second arrow struck. This arrow was not made of wood and feathers. It was made of thought. It was the arrow of "this is terrible." The arrow of who is to blame. The arrow of what if. This second arrow is the arrow of suffering. The first arrow, the pain of life, is inevitable. We will all be struck by it from time to time: sickness, loss, misfortune. But the second arrow is optional. He gazed at them with deep compassion. When you are struck by the first arrow, the wisest course of action is not to immediately shoot yourself with the second. The pain from the first arrow is real, but the suffering from the second is something you create entirely within your own mind. The master taught pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. This is one of the most practical and profound teachings in all of Buddhist wisdom. It makes a crucial distinction between pain and suffering. Pain is the direct, raw, physical or emotional sensation that arises from an unpleasant event. It is a given of the human condition. The first arrow is simply life happening. Suffering, on the other hand, is our mental and emotional reaction to the pain. It is the story we tell ourselves about the pain. It is the judgment, the resistance, the fear, the self-pity, the anger, the blame. This is the second arrow, and it is the one that causes the most damage. We have little control over the first arrow, but we have complete control over whether or not we fire the second by learning to simply be with the raw sensation of the first arrow, to acknowledge the pain without adding the story. We can dramatically reduce the amount of suffering in our lives. As you lie here, bring to mind a first arrow that struck you recently. It could be a physical pain, a piece of bad news, a rejection, or a simple frustration. Remember the initial, raw feeling of it. Now, can you identify the second arrows you fired at yourself immediately after? Did you think, "This always happens to me"? Did you get angry and blame someone? Did you start worrying about all the terrible things that might happen next? Notice how these second arrows made the initial pain so much worse. Tonight, you can practice laying down your bow. If there is any pain present in you right now, physical or emotional, can you just be with the raw sensation of it? Without the story, without the judgment, just the pure feeling. Notice how, without the second arrows, the first arrow is much more bearable. The first arrows of the day are in the past. It is time to stop shooting yourself with the second arrows of worry and regret. Let them fall from your hand. Put down the bow. The pain was then. The suffering is now, and it is a choice. Tonight, choose not to suffer. Allow your mind to be free of the second arrows. When a thought of worry or blame arises, see it for what it is, a second arrow, and simply let it go. You do not need to shoot it. Breathe in peace. Breathe out the stories about your pain. You are safe from the second arrows here. In this quiet space, there is only the gentle sensation of your body resting, your breath flowing, and that is enough. Allow this simple, uncomplicated peace to be your medicine, healing the wounds of all the arrows and guiding you into a deep, suffering-free sleep. We find ourselves in a vast, open plain under a wide sky. Wild grasses ripple in the wind like a green ocean. In the distance, a herd of wild horses grazes peacefully. The air is fresh and filled with the scent of sun-baked earth and grass. The atmosphere is one of untamed energy, freedom, and the challenge of gentle guidance. Here, we will learn how to tame the wild energy of our own minds. A young novice came to a Zen master, complaining about his mind. "Master," he said, "I cannot meditate. My mind is like a wild horse. The moment I try to sit still, it gallops away into thoughts of the past or anxieties about the future. It is untamable. I try to force it to be still, but it only fights me harder." The master listened, then said, "If you had a wild horse that you wished to tame, what would you do? Would you tie it to a post with a short rope and beat it when it struggled? No. That would only make it more fearful and wild. You would break its spirit, or it would break the rope." "What then, master?" asked the novice. "First," the master said, "you would give it a very large field to roam in. A wide, open pasture with a strong, high fence. The horse can run, but it cannot run away completely. The fence is your discipline, the container of your meditation practice. Next, you would not chase it. You would simply sit in the middle of the field day after day. You would be a calm, quiet presence. You would bring it good food and fresh water. These are your moments of mindfulness and self-compassion. You let the horse come to you. You do not force it. Over time, the horse's fear will lessen. It will see that you are not a threat. It will grow curious. It may begin to approach you tentatively at first, and eventually, after much patience, it will come to trust you. It will eat from your hand. It will allow you to gently place a rope around its neck. It will learn to walk beside you. You do not tame the horse by breaking its will, but by earning its trust. The horse remains wild and powerful, but its energy is now harmonized with yours. Your mind, the master concluded, is this wild horse. Do not fight it. Give it a large field. Be patient. Be kind to it. And it will, in its own time, come to rest. The master taught the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. This parable offers a compassionate and effective model for working with our own restless minds, a practice often called taming the mind. The novice's approach is the common one. We see the mind's wildness as an enemy, and we try to suppress it through force. This creates an internal battle that is exhausting and counterproductive. The master's wisdom lies in changing the entire relationship from one of conflict to one of kindness and patient training. The large field is the practice of non-judgmental awareness, allowing thoughts to come and go without suppression. The strong fence is the gentle but firm commitment to the practice itself. The food and water are the acts of bringing our attention back to a focal point, like the breath, over and over again with kindness, not frustration. Over time, the mind learns that the state of meditation is a safe and pleasant place to be. It stops fighting and begins to settle down naturally. We don't destroy the mind's energy, we befriend it and channel it. As you lie here, feel the wild horse of your own mind. Notice its tendency to gallop off into worries, plans, and memories. Your first instinct might be to grab the reins and pull hard, to shout. Stop thinking. Can you feel how that creates a struggle, a tension? You are fighting the horse, and the horse is fighting back. Tonight, try the master's way. Imagine your mind is that beautiful, powerful horse, and you are not its enemy. You are its kind and patient friend. Create a large, safe field for it. The field is your quiet awareness. The horse can think its thoughts. It's okay. You are just sitting peacefully in the middle of the field, gently offering it the food of your calm breath each time it comes near. You are not here to break the horse. You are here to earn its trust. Every time your mind wanders, and you gently, without scolding, guide it back to the feeling of your breath, you are taming the horse with kindness. You are showing it that this place of rest is safe. Let go of the fight. Release the struggle. Allow the wild energy of your mind to gallop if it needs to, within the safe pasture of your awareness. It will grow tired. It will grow calm. Your patient, gentle presence is the most powerful taming tool there is. Slowly, gently, the wild horse will come to rest at your feet, its powerful energy now quiet and peaceful. Rest with your mind, not against it. And together, in harmony, you will drift into a deep and peaceful sleep. Our journey brings us to the edge of a village at night. But this is not a peaceful scene. In the distance, a house is engulfed in flames. Orange and red light dances against the dark sky, and the sound of crackling fire and panicked shouts fills the air. It is a scene of urgency, danger, and the desperate need for skillful action. Here, amidst the chaos, we will explore a difficult wisdom about the nature of our world and the path to liberation. A wealthy man lived in a great mansion with his many children. The house was old and vast, with only one gate for entry and exit. One day, while the man was away, a fire broke out in the house. The old structure, made of dry wood, was quickly consumed by flames. The man's children were inside, engrossed in their games and toys, completely unaware of the deadly danger surrounding them. The man rushed back to the single gate and saw the horrific scene. He shouted to his children, "Come out, the house is on fire. You must escape now." But the children did not understand. They were too absorbed in their play. They loved their toys and did not want to leave them. They did not grasp the meaning of fire or danger. They just wanted to continue their games. The man was frantic. The house was beginning to collapse. He knew he could not physically carry them all out in time. He needed a skillful way to lure them out. He knew his children loved special toys, things they had never seen before. So he called out to them again, his voice full of excitement. "Children, come quickly. I have wonderful new toys for you out here. I have beautiful ox carts, swift deer carts, and magnificent goat carts, more amazing than anything you have inside. Come out, and you can have your pick." The children's ears perked up. New, wonderful carts, better than their old toys. Their desire was piqued. Forgetting their games, they all scrambled towards the gate, pushing and shoving to be the first one to get a new cart. They all escaped the burning house just as the roof caved in. Once they were all safely outside, they looked at their father. "Father, where are the carts you promised?" The father, overjoyed to see them safe, did not give them 3 different kinds of carts. Instead, he gave each of them something far greater. A single, magnificent, great white ox cart, adorned with jewels and drawn by a powerful, serene animal. It was far more splendid than anything he had described or that they could have imagined. They had left their petty toys for the promise of something better, and in return, they received something immeasurably more valuable, their lives, and a treasure beyond compare. The Master taught that the world we live in, the world of desire, attachment, and impermanence, is like a burning house. This famous and complex parable from the Lotus Sutra addresses a profound spiritual dilemma. We, like the children, are engrossed in our toys, our worldly pursuits, our ambitions, our pleasures. We are unaware that the very foundation of this existence is on fire with the truths of suffering, impermanence, and dissatisfaction. The Father represents the enlightened teacher and the Buddha himself. The initial promises of the different carts are the skillful means. They are the various teachings, practices, and promises that appeal to our current level of understanding and desire. They are the initial lures to get us to leave the burning house of our ordinary, unexamined lives. The ultimate gift, the great white ox cart, represents the single, supreme truth of enlightenment itself, a reality far grander and more liberating than the initial promises used to draw us toward it. The lesson is that sometimes the path to ultimate truth is paved with provisional truths that speak to our current needs and desires, skillfully guiding us away from danger and toward a greater reality. As you lie here, consider the burning house of your own restless mind, the anxieties, the endless wanting, the attachments. These are the flames, and your toys are the thoughts and worries you are so engrossed in, unaware of the peace that lies just outside the gate. Perhaps you came to this practice, to these stories, seeking a toy, the promise of a good night's sleep, relief from stress. This is your deer cart or goat cart. It is a worthy and understandable desire. Can you recognize this promise of sleep as a skillful means? A way to lure you out of the burning house of your chaotic thoughts. The real gift is not just sleep. The real gift is the safety and peace you find when you finally step outside the frantic thinking mind. Tonight, let the promise of sleep be the toy that coaxes you to leave your worries behind. It is a wonderful promise. Come out of the burning house of your day. Leave the toys of regret and planning. Just for tonight, let them go. The gate is open. The path is clear. You are being called to safety, to a peace far greater than you can imagine. The great white ox cart of deep, profound rest is waiting for you. It is more serene, more restorative than mere sleep. It is the peace of a liberated mind. Step through the gate, leave the fire behind, and accept the greater gift that is being offered to you. The gift of true, deep, and utter peace. Our journey takes us to the dusty roads of ancient India. We walk alongside a woman, her face etched with a grief so profound, it seems to have stolen all the color from the world. The sun is hot, the air is thick, but she does not notice. She is on a desperate quest, moving through villages and towns, her heart fixed on a single, impossible task. It is a place of sorrow, of seeking, and of the dawning of a difficult but universal truth. There was a young woman named Kisa Gautami, whose first and only child had died. Consumed by a grief that bordered on madness, she refused to accept that her son was gone. She wrapped the small, still body in a cloth and carried him from house to house, from person to person, begging for a medicine that could bring him back to life. Some people mocked her. Others looked at her with pity. Some turned away, unable to bear her sorrow. But no one had the medicine she sought. Finally, a wise old man took pity on her and said, "I do not have the medicine you need, but I know someone who does. Go to the Buddha. He is a great physician." Kisa Gautami rushed to the place where the Buddha was teaching. She fell at his feet, laid her son down, and told her story through a storm of tears. "Lord," she pleaded, "can you give me the medicine that will cure my body?" The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion. He did not tell her that her son was dead and that her quest was futile. Instead, he said to her, "Yes, I can make the medicine, but to do so, I need one special ingredient. I need you to bring me a handful of mustard seeds." The woman's eyes lit up with hope. "I will get them, Lord." "From where should I get them?" "You must get them from a house," the Buddha said, "where no one has ever died. A house that has never known loss." Filled with renewed purpose, Kisa Gautami went to the nearest village. She went to the first house and knocked. "The Buddha has sent me," she said. "I need a handful of mustard seeds to make a medicine for my son. But I can only take them if no one in this house has ever died." The woman of the house replied, "You can have as many mustard seeds as you want. But as for your condition in this house, the living are few, but the dead are many." Kisa Gautami went to the next house, and the next, and the next. At every door, she was met with the same story. "My husband died last year. We lost our child to a fever. My parents are gone. Our family has known many deaths." Everyone was willing to give her the seeds, but no house was free from the touch of death. As the day wore on, her frantic energy began to subside. She sat by the roadside, the truth slowly dawning on her. She was not alone in her grief. Her pain was not a unique curse. Loss was a part of every life. It was the universal condition of being human. With this profound realization, the fire of her selfish grief began to cool. She understood. She took her son's body to the charnel ground for cremation, and then returned to the Buddha, her heart no longer wild with personal sorrow, but filled with a deep, quiet, and universal understanding. She had not found a mustard seed from a house without death, but she had found the medicine she truly needed. The Master taught, "You are not alone in your suffering." To understand this is the beginning of compassion. The story of Kisa Gautami and the mustard seed is one of the most poignant and powerful teachings on grief and the nature of suffering. The Buddha's genius was in not giving her a lecture on impermanence. He knew that intellectual understanding would not touch the depths of her pain. Instead, he sent her on a journey of experiential discovery. He gave her a task that forced her to step outside of the narrow prison of her own personal tragedy and connect with the shared human experience of loss. In seeking a house untouched by death, she discovered that there is no such thing. Her suffering was not her own private hell. It was the shared sorrow of the world. This realization is the medicine. It transforms selfish grief into universal compassion. It doesn't erase the pain of loss, but it situates it in a larger context, connecting us to all beings and dissolving the isolating walls of our personal story. As you lie here, bring to mind a sorrow or a struggle that feels uniquely yours. A pain you feel no one else could possibly understand. Feel the loneliness of that belief, the way it isolates you and makes the burden feel heavier. You have been, in your own way, searching for a house without death, a life without this particular struggle, a world where you are not afflicted by this pain. Tonight, can you embark on Kisa Gautami's journey in your mind? Can you consider that countless others, right now, are feeling a similar pain? That your struggle, while deeply personal, is also part of a vast, shared human tapestry of experience. You are not being singled out. You are a member of the human family, sharing in its inevitable sorrows and joys. You are not alone. In your pain, in your fear, in your struggle to find rest tonight, you are not alone. Countless others are lying awake with similar burdens. Feel that connection. Let it dissolve the walls of your isolation. Your pain is not a sign that you are flawed. It is a sign that you are human. The medicine you need is this deep understanding of your shared humanity. Breathe in and imagine you are breathing in the strength of all who have ever faced this struggle. Breathe out and imagine you are sending compassion to all who are facing it now. You are part of a great river of life, with all its joys and all its sorrows. Allow this feeling of connection to be a soft blanket, comforting you. You are not an island. You are part of the whole. And in this wholeness, you can let go of the lonely struggle and rest, held in the compassionate embrace of the entire world. Our journey takes us to the wide, muddy bank of a great, fast-flowing river. This river represents a significant obstacle, a barrier between the world we know and a far shore that promises safety and peace. The air is humid, and the sound of the rushing water is a constant, powerful roar. The challenge seems immense, but near the water's edge, there are materials, vines, logs, branches, the means to overcome the obstacle. It is a place of transition, ingenuity, and letting go. A man was traveling through a wild and dangerous land. This side of the river was filled with feral thieves, wild animals, and constant fear. The other side of the river, he could see, was safe, peaceful, and secure. But there was no bridge and no ferry. The river was too wide and swift to swim. The man, being resourceful, did not despair. He gathered logs, reeds, and strong vines. He worked diligently, lashing them together, and constructed a simple but sturdy raft. Using a long pole, he pushed off from the bank and began the difficult journey across the water. He fought the current, navigated around rocks, and finally, with great effort, he reached the far shore. He had arrived. The land was safe and peaceful, just as he had hoped. He was so grateful for his raft. It had saved his life. It was the most precious thing he owned. He looked at it and thought, "This raft has been so useful to me. It carried me from danger to safety. I should not abandon it. I will carry it with me on my journey from now on, lest I ever need it again." And so he hoisted the heavy, clumsy raft onto his back and began to walk inland, away from the river. He struggled under its weight. The logs snagged on trees. The vines caught in bushes. His journey through the safe land, which should have been easy and pleasant, became a torturous ordeal. He, who had been so wise in building the raft and using it to cross the river, was now being foolish by clinging to it when its purpose was served. Another traveler, seeing him struggling, asked, "Friend, why are you carrying that heavy raft on dry land?" The man replied, "It was my salvation. It brought me here." "Indeed," said the traveler, "it was a wonderful tool for crossing the river. But now you are on the shore. Its purpose is complete. The wise thing to do would be to leave it behind and walk freely." The master taught, "My teachings are like a raft built to cross the river. Only a fool would carry the raft on his back after reaching the other shore." This crucial parable is a caution against a subtle form of attachment. Attachment to the very teachings and practices that are meant to liberate us. The raft represents all the tools we use on our spiritual journey. The meditations, the philosophies, the rituals, the stories like these. They are incredibly useful. They are designed to carry us from the shore of suffering to the shore of peace. But they are means to an end, not the end itself. The goal is not to accumulate a collection of perfect rafts. The goal is to get to the other side. Once we have arrived at a place of genuine peace and understanding, we must be careful not to cling to the methods that got us there. To do so is to turn a tool of liberation into a new burden. As you lie here, think of the rafts you use in your life, the techniques you use to relax, the beliefs that comfort you. Perhaps even these very stories you are listening to right now. These are your rafts. They are useful and good. But is there a way you are clinging to them? Do you believe that you need them to be okay? Do you feel anxious without them? This is the beginning of carrying the raft on your back. The goal is not to become dependent on the raft, but to internalize the peace that it points toward. Tonight, this story is a raft. It is here to carry you across the river of restlessness to the shore of sleep. It has a purpose. Use it. Be grateful for it, but do not cling to it. The true peace is not in the story. It is in the state the story helps you find. You are approaching the other shore, the shore of deep sleep. This raft, the sound of my voice, has served its purpose. It has carried you this far. Now, it is time to do the wise thing. It is time to leave the raft behind. Let go of my voice. Let go of the story. Let go of the technique. Step freely onto the safe and peaceful shore of your own inner silence. The peace is not in my words. It is within you. You have arrived. There is nothing more to carry. You are unburdened. You are free. Walk into the peaceful landscape of your own quiet mind and rest deeply without the weight of any raft upon your back. Our journey takes us to a quiet, forgotten temple in the countryside of Thailand. The temple has fallen into disuse, its wooden walls weathered and gray. Inside, in the dusty main hall, sits a huge statue of the Buddha made of clay. It is a simple, rather crude statue, cracked and unremarkable. For centuries, it has sat here, ignored by all but a few local villagers. It is a place of hidden treasures and overlooked beauty. Here, we will uncover the truth that lies beneath a mundane surface. For hundreds of years, a monastery in Thailand housed a giant, unimpressive statue of the Buddha made of clay. It was large, but lacked any artistic merit, and the monks paid it little mind. One day, the monastery had to be relocated to make way for a new highway. The monks arranged for a large crane to move the massive clay statue to their new location. The process was difficult. As the crane lifted the statue, the ropes strained, and a large crack appeared in the clay. The head monk, worried that the statue might be damaged further, decided to call off the move for the night. He went out with a flashlight to inspect the crack more closely. As he shone the light into the fissure, he saw a faint, metallic glint deep inside. He was curious. Taking a small hammer and chisel, he carefully began to chip away at the clay around the crack. As a large piece of the clay fell away, he saw something breathtaking. Beneath the dull, gray clay was the unmistakable, brilliant gleam of pure, solid gold. The monks worked carefully through the night, chipping away the rest of the worthless clay exterior. By morning, they stood in awe. Revealed before them was a magnificent, colossal statue of the Buddha, cast in solid gold. It was a masterpiece of priceless value and exquisite beauty. Historians believe that centuries earlier, when a rival army was about to invade, the monks had covered their precious golden Buddha with clay to protect it, to hide its value from the invaders. The secret was so well kept that it was forgotten, and for generations, everyone had mistaken the treasure for a lump of worthless clay. The master taught, "Look within. The Buddha is not in the sky. It is in your own heart." This incredible true story is a perfect parable for our own human nature. We are all like that statue, On the outside, we can seem like clay. We see our flaws, our imperfections, our ordinary, cracked exteriors. We identify with our bodies, our personalities, our fleeting thoughts and emotions. We believe that this clay exterior is all that we are. And so we live our lives believing we are of little value, unremarkable, and mundane. The wisdom of the story is that beneath this ordinary clay shell lies a golden Buddha. This is our true nature, our Buddha nature. It is the core of pure, radiant awareness, of innate goodness, wisdom, and peace that is the essence of every living being. It is priceless and perfect. It may be covered by layers of conditioning, fear, and ignorance. The clay we have accumulated throughout our lives, but it is never tarnished or diminished. The spiritual path is not about creating a golden statue. It is the process of gently and patiently chipping away the clay of our own misunderstanding until we reveal the treasure that has been there all along. As you lie here, you may be very aware of your clay exterior, the tiredness of your body, the worries in your mind, the feelings of imperfection. You may believe that this is the sum total of who you are. You see the cracks, the dullness, and you may judge yourself for it. You believe you need to be fixed or improved. Tonight, can you entertain a different possibility? That who you truly are is not the clay, but the gold hidden within. That beneath all the surface noise of your mind and body, there is a core of perfect, peaceful, radiant being. You don't have to see it perfectly. You just have to know that it's there. Your practice of resting, of breathing, of letting go, this is the gentle tapping of the hammer and chisel. Each moment of peace, each relaxed breath, chips away a small piece of the clay. You are not trying to become something you are not. You are simply revealing what you have always been. Know that your true nature is golden. It is pure and untroubled. It is perfect. Feel for that inner radiance, however faint it may seem. It is your essence. Rest in the knowledge of your own hidden treasure. The clay is temporary. The gold is eternal. Allow the clay of the day's worries and thoughts to fall away as you drift into sleep, revealing the pure, peaceful, golden light of your own true self. Our final journey of the night takes us to a small, simple room. An old man sits by a window, looking out at the setting sun. The room is sparse, containing only a bed, a chair, and a few books. The light is soft and golden, filling the room with a peaceful glow. There is a profound sense of contentment, of a life fully lived and understood. It is a place of final reflections and the discovery of the true starting point for all meaningful change. An old Zen master lay peacefully on his deathbed, surrounded by his students. One of his students asked him, "Master, you have lived such a long and wise life. What is your biggest regret? What would you do differently if you had your life to live over again? The old master was silent for a long time, his eyes closed. Then he smiled a gentle, knowing smile and began to speak, his voice a soft whisper. When I was a young man, he said, I was full of fire and ambition. I was a revolutionary. My only prayer was, Lord, give me the strength to change the world. As I entered middle age and realized I had not changed a single soul, my prayer became more modest. I prayed, Lord, give me the grace to change those I come in contact with, my family, my friends. Just let me change them. Now, he continued, his voice even softer, as an old man with my life nearly at its end, I see how foolish I have been. My one and only prayer now is this, Lord, give me the grace to change myself. He opened his eyes and looked at his students, a gentle light shining in them. If I had only started with that prayer from the very beginning, he said, I would not have wasted my life on impossibilities. For if you can change yourself, you will have already started to change the world. The master taught, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. This final, simple parable contains a lifetime of wisdom. It speaks to the fundamental misdirection of our efforts. We so often see the problems of the world, the conflict, the ignorance, the suffering, and we believe the solution lies out there. We want to fix other people, reform institutions, change the world. This impulse often comes from a good place, but it is ultimately based on a misunderstanding of where true power and influence lie. The master's life journey reflects a gradual awakening to this truth. The grand, external focus of his youth gives way to the more intimate focus of his middle age, and finally, to the only sphere where he has any real control, himself. The profound wisdom here is that self-transformation is not a selfish act. It is the most powerful and effective form of world transformation available to us. A peaceful person brings peace to their family. A compassionate person inspires compassion in their community. The only way to truly change the world is to become the change we wish to see. The work always and only begins within. As you lie here at the end of this journey, think about the things you wished were different today, and the frustrations you had with other people, with your circumstances, with the state of the world. This is your desire to change the world. Notice the feeling of powerlessness that often comes with this desire. The world is so big, and other people are so stubborn. It is an exhausting and often fruitless struggle. Tonight, in this final moment before sleep, can you follow the Master's final, wise prayer? Can you let go of changing everything and everyone else and turn your gentle, loving attention inward? The only person you need to work on is the one lying here in this bed. The greatest change you can make tonight is to change your own state from one of restlessness to one of peace. That is all. This is the most profound and powerful work you can do. Let go of the world. Let go of everyone in it. Turn your focus inward with great kindness. Your only task now is to change yourself into a person who is deeply and peacefully asleep. Breathe in, accepting yourself as you are. Breathe out, releasing the need for anyone or anything else to be different. The work is here. The peace is here. In changing yourself, you offer the greatest gift you can to the world, one more peaceful soul. Rest now. Your work is done. Your prayer has been answered. You are changing. You are becoming peace itself. And so, our journey for tonight comes to a close. The stories have been told. The wisdom has been shared. The rafts have been left on the far shore. Now, there is only this quiet, this stillness, this deep and profound peace that you have cultivated. You have emptied your cup. You have put down the heavy stones. You have embraced your beautiful imperfections. You have learned to bend like the bamboo and stand firm like the mountain. You have seen that your true nature is golden and that the only true work is to change yourself. All that is left to do now is to rest, to surrender completely to the gentle, healing darkness. There are no more words to follow, no more thoughts to think. Welcome this silence. Welcome this peace. It is your true nature. It is your home. Here at Zen Buddhism Healing, we wish you the deepest, most restorative sleep. Let go now. Drift peacefully. And know that you are held in a space of infinite calm and compassion. Sleep well.